In this video, I'll be talking about how to zone an air conditioning system. As someone who has worked in the facilities department of a large company, no one likes to get hot or cold calls. But fortunately, with careful design and by keeping your equipment in good working order, you can avoid most hot and cold calls. I want to start by talking about the role of a thermostat. Air conditioning systems think that they have one job and one job only. They don't think that their job is to keep a space comfortable or to keep the occupants happy. Their only job is to keep the thermostat happy. It heats or it cools as needed until it reaches set point. But most air conditioning systems serve more than one room, so how do you keep all of the rooms on the system at a comfortable temperature? Therein lies the art or science of zoning. So imagine a scenario with several identical rooms and they all have the same walls, windows, exterior exposures, computers, lights, occupants, etc. Essentially, these two rooms are the same in every way. If that's the case, it shouldn't matter which room has the thermostat in it because they'll be getting warm at the same rate. And when one of them is satisfied, the other one is satisfied, provided you're blowing the same amount of air into both rooms. Take a look at these four offices, offices 9, 10, 11, and 12. They're all facing the same direction. They all have a window. They're all an office, so they'll probably have one occupant and a computer. It probably doesn't matter which of these four units gets a thermostat. So that's the first principle of zoning, is group rooms with similar loading patterns together and put them on the same system and have them controlled by the same thermostat in a room that's representative of all of them. Let's look at a second scenario where you have two rooms and one of them is twice as big as the other. Now, as long as the loads are proportional, in other words, if the bigger room has twice as many lights as the smaller room, twice as many people, computers, etc., if everything is proportional, then you would be able to just put twice as much cooling into the second room and they'd still move together. They still follow the same loading pattern. Not all rooms have the same loading patterns, however. For example, a classroom in a school. For the most part, classrooms are occupied at the same time, but when one of the classes goes to the library or the cafeteria or recess, and the other rooms don't, then you have dissimilar loading patterns. A conference room also has a different loading pattern than the offices that are around it. The same is true for a lot of rooms. The rooms on the east side of the building are going to have a different loading pattern than the rooms on the west side of the building, so you probably, when practical, want to keep them on separate systems. Do all rooms with unique loads require a dedicated system? No, not every room that has a unique heating and cooling loading pattern needs its own system. Let's take a break room or a janitor's room, for example. Here's a picture of a break room in an office building. That break room is going to have a very different loading pattern than all of the other rooms. When people leave their offices, they're going to go into the break room, and so should the break room get its own system? Probably not. It probably doesn't need its own system unless your HVAC system is a VAV system or another one that has several small zones. Then go ahead. In general, though, there's no reason to put it on its own thermostat and on its own system. Nobody's going to be in the break room for long enough to notice or to complain. And if the break room does fill up with people during lunch, it won't take long for it to revert back to the same temperature as all of the surrounding areas afterwards. It's just not a really critical area. The same could be said for the janitor's closet that's next to the break room. It has an entirely unique loading pattern, which is that there's almost no load in it ever. That's a good example of how a unique loading pattern does not qualify for an additional system or for a thermostat. If you have large rooms, such as training rooms and, like we talked about before, classrooms, if you've got a large place where people are going to be sitting for a long period of time and there's a lot of people in it, and it has its own unique loading pattern, that one ought to get its own dedicated system and thermostat as much as practical. It's all fairly simple. You want to find out which rooms have similar loading patterns and group them together. You don't want to mix east and west unless you have to. If you have large rooms with unique loading patterns, you want to put them on their own system. And that's about all there is to it. If you could use some help with zoning, just drop a comment down below. click like, subscribe, etc., and hope to see you next time.